We have an amazing guest for you tonight. Christopher Dunn has had an extensive background as a master craftsman. He was recruited by an American aerospace company where he has worked at almost every level of high-tech manufacturing. Then he decided to pursue something else. And over the years, he has been investigating the Giza pyramid area in Egypt. He has written several books, The Giza Power Plant, and also Lost Technologies of Ancient Egypt. Chris, welcome to the program. Good to have you with us.
Thank you, George. I appreciate being here.
How do you think they cut the stone?
Well, that's an interesting question because one of the pieces of evidence that I discovered in 2006 and included in my book, Lost Technologies of Ancient Egypt, describes them using circular saws.
Circular saws?
Circular saws.
How big?
Well, the evidence clearly shows that the saw must have been over 37 feet in diameter.
A 37-foot saw?
Yes.
My God, and they had to have had something to power this thing.
Yes.
And the revolutions to cut through that kind of stone must have been astronomical.
Well, not necessarily the revolutions, but I mean, even at a slow revolution, the surface feet per minute at the cutting edge of the saw would be sufficient. I mean, you wouldn't have to turn it very quickly.
What would the material be to have constructed the saw?
Obviously, they would have had to have used a material that was harder than the granite, and what we look for
that's a big diamond if that's what
diamonds.
It was.
But I mean, they create saws today to cut granite, and they embed diamond in a substrate, and it cuts very, very efficiently. But it's a matter of saying, you know, if you have a mega project like building a pyramid,
right,
then you actually create mega machines to accomplish it, and that is kind of like a revolutionary concept in that we the picture that has been kind of transmitted to us over the years of how pyramids were built
just remarkable.
Have been people with, you know, these stone balls or chisels and, you know, just banging away at the blocks. But the evidence shows otherwise.
Where would a 37-foot circular saw be right now? Where would they put that?
It's a good question because when you consider the thousands of years since the pyramid was built, I mean, there are different scenarios that you can imagine. If the pyramid was completed, the people who built it would take the saw, take it apart, because I'm assuming that something that large would come in sections,
right,
and you would assemble it on site
and take it apart.
Right, and then there's evidence on the Giza Plateau and at Abu Rawash. Abu Rawash has clear evidence of this 37-foot saw.
Clearly.
Clear.
Do other people see this, or just you, Chris?
I've seen it, and other people have seen it, and verified it. Other engineers, I've taken engineers to Abu Rawash and showed them to it. In fact, the two people that I took there looked at it, and read my analysis on it, and said, "Well, this is like a new Rosetta Stone."
It really is,
because it describes a culture that is much more advanced, and it's hard evidence.
The masonry techniques also were incredible.
Yep.
Bronze and copper tools of the time are at first sight too soft. Yet a sarcophagus or coffin makes it clear that ancient masons could cut straight edges. Close up, there are striations, marks made by the movement of a hard edge.
Yeah. That's it. Now the stone weights at each end of the saw are putting the load onto the sand and causes the cutting. The crystal is forced to score a groove in the stone.
So the copper is only guiding the sand's doing the cutting.
Right.
That's all well and good, Christopher, but that would take a lot of going back and forth to cut those blocks we see in the pyramids.
Yes, and that particular method does not explain the evidence, because the evidence indicates that the saw was moving through the material at a higher feed rate, and the striations on the stone with that method, you would not be able to move the saw through very quickly.
Might have been used for smaller blocks, maybe? Is that possible?
I mean, I think if
Or
you
just
have,
toss the whole theory
I
out?
think if you have the technology, if you have the technology to cut the stones and leave the striations on the large blocks that I've seen in Egypt, there's no reason for you to revert to a method like that to cut smaller blocks.
There's something in the Petrie Museum, some kind of granite core with spiral grooves. What is that all about?
That was a William Flinders Petrie discovered that at Giza in 1881, and he wrote a book called Pyramids and Temples of Giza. It was published in 1883, and he described this core as being tapered, and that the drill, whatever drilled it, it had a revolution, per revolution of the drill, it cut about 100 thousandths per revolution. So for every revolution down, it sank into the granite about 1/8 of an inch. And that is an amazing, tremendous feed rate.
It's great science, wasn't it?
Well, it would have been science, science, engineering, techniques, technology, but it's a very mysterious object. And at first, when I analyzed it, I thought that it may have been cut using ultrasonic machining, but since I received a latex impression of the outside of the core and examined the grooves in it, it is spiral, but it's almost as though it has parts of it have melted. That there was some application of heat or something like that.
Remarkable.
To assist in the cutting, but it's a very mysterious object for sure.
Christopher, what about the moving of the blocks? Even though it's remarkable that they may have had power saws,
Right.
how did they move these things? They're huge.
Well, that's one of the things that really, when we look at how the pyramids were built, and we look at how they moved obelisks and these massive statues, somewhere weighing 1,000 tons, how were they moved, and how do they build the pyramid? So in a short period of time, when some of the blocks weigh
Tons.
70 tons.
Tons, yeah.
And taking blocks to
We couldn't move them today.
Oh well, I mean, I wouldn't say that we couldn't if we had a purpose to do that. I mean, 200 tons. They've lifted 100-ton vessels, nuclear vessels to a higher
But the
elevation.
cranes were huge.
The cranes were huge, and there are people who specialize in lifting, crane drivers and what they call riggers who will analyze a site and determine, what they need to move a block from point A to point B. And the company I work for moved a 100-ton press into the plant, and so that was quite an ordeal, where they had to bring a crane down in sections on 5 semi-loads and then assemble
Just
it.
remarkable.
And so for 5 days they were bringing these pieces in, then assembling it, and then they actually picked the load and dropped it into the plant.
Do you think they had extraterrestrial help?
There has been it seems to have been a popular idea that people have attached to. I tend to think more along the lines of a more advanced civilization,
All right.
such as say our civilization.
That kind of technology.
Yeah, if we have, there is a lot, a lot of the technology that we see in Egypt, when it comes to cutting and shaping, we have the tools today to be able to do that. The lifting is another matter, and so while it's possible to do it, What the methods are, I think they used a more efficient method. I think they actually had levitation technologies,
I think so.
anti-gravity
Sound resonance,
technology.
something.
Yeah. Now, I don't want to escape your previous question on the extraterrestrial help. That idea, I have not seen any credible information that would prove it. And you know, it's hard when it comes to evidence and the analysis of evidence. We have to assume that this planet, the genius of the human race, is evident in all cultures throughout.
Sure.
Throughout history, whether you go back millennia, but civilization is cyclical, you know, and we go through cycles of the rise of a civilization and the fall of a civilization. For some reason, whether it's extraterrestrial impacts like a comet strike, which it seems like there's evidence for that now, it will destroy a large section of society, and sometimes throw the whole planet back in time. I mean, today, if it happened, we could be thrown back to being a medieval society.